How's it going, guys? This is going to be in regards to a future assignment coming up. It's where we have to make a Japanese winter scene for Unity. I'm going to show you some real basic things that you can do in Maya to export a file into Unity, and you're going to see how easy it really is. It's not complicated at all. The first thing I want to get into is actually modeling something for the winter scene. So let's say you want like a shrine or a temple or something like that. So I'm going to open up Google, and as you can see, I've already pulled up Japanese shrines. So this is like one of the more iconic things right here. The little, I honestly don't know how to pronounce those names. I'm not going to lie, but we're going to want this little opening gateway right here. So I'm going to open that link in a new tab. And I'm going to use this one for reference as far as the building goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save the image. And I'm just going to create a new folder. And this will be Unity. There we go. Shrine. Okay, open. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go ahead and save this image. Shrine. So the purpose of me doing this is I'm obviously going to want something like that in this scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my front view. There we go. I'm going to go into my front view, and for those of you who don't know, just simply tap on the space bar, hover your mouse over to whichever view you want, and then tap it again. In this case I want the front view. So then from there you'll click on View, Image Plane, Import Image. And the first thing I want to import is the shrine gate. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. So looking at this, we can see that we have cubes right here that are on top and bottom, and a cube in the middle. These right here will be represented by polycylinders. So if we click on the polycylinder, I'm just going to single tap on the mouse instead of dragging to create it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scale this down where this is about the same. I'm going to hold down the right mouse button, come over here to Vertex. I'm just going to drag and select these bottom vertices. I'll press W on the keyboard, and I'll move this down. I'll select the top vertices and move these up to about here. After that, I'm going to go ahead and select the cylinder that I created. I'm going to hold down Control and press D. I'm going to move this one over here. I'll click on this tab right here, and for the scaling, I'm going to be scaling this in the x-axis. And I know this because this is my x-axis. So I'm going to scale this to -191. And I'm just going to middle mouse click in the scene. I'm going to go ahead and move this one over. Now the reason why I'm not trying to match this side with the image, because I've already done it with this. So as long as I know that this is the same negative value, I know it's going to be what I want. So from there I'm going to click on the polycube. I'm going to place it right here in the scene. I'm going to scale down where it about matches the image. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to scale this out. Then I'm going to press Control D on the keyboard. I'm going to move this one up. Then I'm going to go into Vertex. And go into Vertex, hold down Shift or Control Shift. Either one of those is fine. I'm going to scale it out where it points out like so. From there I'm going to select this bottom one. I'm going to press Control D again. I'm going to move this up. I'm going to scale this in, and I'm going to scale it up. Now one thing I am going to do, press F on the keyboard and you can zoom in. I'm actually going to make this a little bit thinner than the rest of these. And then for these two, I'm actually going to scale inwards about like so. So this way we have this nice look to it, I guess you would say. If it's driving you crazy how this is actually cutting through, just simply select the image, press W on the keyboard, and you can move it back. Make sure you translate it in -Z, because if you translate it in +Z, is what will happen is you won't see it at all. So if you translate it in the -Z, Now you'll be able to see it. So from there is what I want to do is I'm actually going to click on this one again. I'm going to make 2 more duplicate objects of it. Actually, I can probably do it with just one. So let me go ahead and duplicate this one. I'm going to move it up here. And this time, instead of scaling it only in one axis, I'm actually going to scale it in all 3 axes, like that. So I'm going to go to Face. I'm going to drag and select. So basically, all of these faces, except for this one, are selected. Oops. I'm going to go back to my front view. I'm going to hold down Shift and select. Do not hold down Control, only Shift. And then I'll drag and select this. So by doing that, I've selected just this face and this face. Your other option is just to simply click on, like once you go into face, just select this face and this face. Let me go ahead and save this scene. Oops. Tut. And it is saving, so we'll wait for us probably 5 minutes or however long it takes to save. There we go. Okay, I'm happy. So from there, we're going to click on this little tool right here, this little icon. If you don't have that icon, simply go up to Mesh Tools, and Edit Mesh, and you'll scroll down to Edge or Face. Let's see, where are you at? No, I'm sorry, it's down here under Components. So right below Components, you'll see Extrude. If you want it as a icon on your shelf up here, hold down Control-Shift, click on Edit Mesh, scroll down, click once, and you'll see it pops up right there. For me, I already have it up here, so I don't really need that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click on this. And you're going to see that now this manipulator tool pops up. And you can literally just drag one side, because as you're dragging this side will drag out as well. So whatever we do to one side, as long as this tool is still active, it'll do it to the other as well. I'm going to press G on the keyboard, and that will actually redo my previous action. So let's say you accidentally click off like that, and that is not what you wanted. So you're like, okay, I'll just go ahead and undo it. But then you're stuck with this tool because you pressed another button. One thing to keep in mind is you can move up and down. I mean, you can move up, yeah, you can move up and down. You can move forwards or backwards, but if you try to move it this way, now is what happens is you're actually going to start overlapping these faces. Is what you'll have to do is you'll have to scale out at this point. And you can also bring the manipulator tool back, but that's completely up to you. So I'm going to continue following this shape right here. I'm actually going to create quite a few faces. And if you run into this issue, just simply press Ctrl-Z, press W on the keyboard, and move it up like so. That's actually what I will do probably 90% of the time. Okay, so once you've created this, the last thing, if you want this to be a smooth object, you'll need to press G on the keyboard, and you'll need to move this out just a little bit. I don't know if you could see that or not. So what I'm doing is I'm actually just moving out just a little bit like that. Like, I don't even know if you can even see. Yeah, you can kind of see that. But I'm basically just moving it out 1 pixel. And that's if you want to smooth it. So the last thing I want to do is I actually want to go to Edge. And I actually want to double click on these edges, or I guess just this edge. I'm actually going to move this one up. I'm going to move this one up. And I'm going to move this one up just a little bit more. So this way everything's more uniform. Because what was going on before is as I was moving up on that one tool, it was actually moving this one down, and I didn't realize it till just now. So from there is what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this object. I'm going to press Ctrl-D, and I'm actually going to move it right about here where it's in the center. I'm just going to scale it down. Now, if you don't like the way that looks, because honestly I think that looks like crap, you can always just simply go into Vertex, and we can move these in right about here, and we'll select these and do the same thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to select these. I'm just going to start moving these in about like so. Like that, and then I'll do the same thing on this side. And there we go. Now this is still kind of high, and if you're like, well, I can't see behind it, simply come up here, right here to this icon. This is X-ray mode. By clicking on this, you'll be able to see through your object. So I'm actually going to bring these down to about here, and it looks like I actually need to move these in just a little bit more. No biggie. There we go. And for these, let me select this vertice. I'm actually going to take this and scale it down. Now, whenever I scale down like this and make it flat, whenever you release, you'll see that pops back. That's no big deal. But whenever I do this, I'll actually scale past this, and then I release the mouse. So if you ever see me trying to make something flat, this is basically all you're going to see. But then after that, I'll just move this down to about here. So from there, I want to press Control D. I'm actually going to move this over here, like so. So this is what you should have so far. From there, I'm going to select both of these. I'm actually going to scale these in about like that. So that's the basics of our entry gate so far. If you think in the photo that these have more of a slant, all you have to do is just select these, move them out a little bit, like so. But that's going to be completely up to you. So the next thing we want to do is we actually want to create this little fence. Once again, we'll just create a polycube, and we're going to scale down, and we're going to scale this out like so. Next thing we'll need to do is come in here, and we'll need to make this about like that where it's square. Then we can come in here, move this down, Control D, move that down, select all three, Control D, move these over, and there we go. And once again, because I know I lined it up on this side, I'm not worried about lining it up on this side. So the next thing we want to do is select one of these. We'll press Control D. We'll press R on the keyboard. I'm sorry, not R, but E on the keyboard, or you can just select right here. And we're going to rotate this like so. So then we'll look over here, and we see that the value that we're rotating is Z, so we'll just put that at 90. And one thing I want to explain real quickly, I did not talk about this, and for that I apologize. Let's say your move tool looks like this. Object, there we go. It looks like this. Now that's fine for scale, but if you were trying to rotate something like that, oh, that's right, I didn't rotate it, so I'll actually talk about that here in just a second. That works. Go back to World Component. Let's go ahead and make these little, I guess those are 4x4s, I don't know. So I'm going to put that there. We'll put another one here. Another one here. We'll select all three of these. Control D. We'll move those over right about here. So let's say there was another pillar right here. You don't have to do this or anything like that. I just want to show you this real quickly. And later on I say, okay, now we need to make these flat. You know, you'd be like, okay, well, if it's already flat, but on your screen this is going straight up and down. So what's going on, Jimmy? Is what's going on is that the axis orientation is set to object. Simply click on this arrow, go down to world, and then you can make both of these flat. It's rare you'll have to do this, but the times you do have to do it and you're wondering what's going on, that's what the issue is. So I'm going to go ahead and save this scene. This is the start of it. So what I want to do now is actually select these. Or actually, first thing I need to do is select these, because I don't think these are actually uniform. Yeah, they're not uniform, so I need to make these more uniform. There we go. Then we'll select these right here. We'll make these a little more uniform. We'll press W, and we'll move them forward. There we go. So that's the start of the shrine. And to make the gate go around, I mean, it's pretty simple. Just simply take these three, Control D. We'll rotate them in the Y-axis, like so. And we can see that value changing right here, so we'll just enter 90. If you come into this issue, I think you can actually come in here to the channel box and just type it in right here, and they'll all change. But the attribute editor only does it for the one that's highlighted, in this case PCube21. Channel box, however, will actually do it with all the different ones that you have selected. If that doesn't work, you can always hold down Control, press G, and you can turn this into a group. But now if you try to rotate it, where we did before, come on, you'll see that disappears. And you're like, well, what the hell? And then you'll see it's over there. Is what's going on, anytime you create a group, it automatically sets the center pivot to 0. So what you need to do is you need to come up here to Modify, and you'll scroll down to Center Pivot, and you'll click on that. For me, I actually created the icon up here for this. So anytime I need that, I can just click on that button and go at it. Oh, and by the way, if you just got done typing over here, and you're like, okay, I need this at 90, and you try to press W, you'll see that just changes to a W. All you have to do is just middle mouse click in the scene, and it'll go back to the objects that you had selected. So for this, I'm going to create a post right here. I'm actually going to move these in. You know, I actually kind of like the idea of this being, I like the idea of this being right here. I really do. Then I'll press Control D again. And I'll move this up right about here, and I'll move it out right about there. And then we just start creating more posts. So you can see how that's already starting to look decent. So the next thing we want, we can go ahead and get rid of this image. I'm going to go ahead and save it. The next thing we want is, well, obviously one thing we do want is we want to select everything, Control G, and we're just going to move all this up to right about here. One thing I want to make note of real fast. Anytime I work on a scene, you'll notice that I always let things go through the bottom. And the reason for that is when you import into Unity, you don't see anything that's floating like this. And to select, if you have two objects like this, and you go into Vertex, Vertex, and you try to select everything at once, and only one side is selecting, the reason for that is because you have separate objects, so you actually need to hold down Shift or Control Shift and select the other side as well. So from there, I'm just going to drag these below the polyplane. There we go. So the next thing, besides saving, that I want to do is I want to go back into the front view. I'm going to just scroll up. We're going to go to View, Image Plane, Import Image, and from there I'm actually going to go into Desktop, Unity Tut, and I'm going to click on Shrine. Now you can use this image as a reference, but only as a reference. You cannot use it the same way we were doing it to create the fence or anything like that. You can create this right here because we're looking at a flat face right here, so you can literally create this little object right here, but you can't create the shrine. If you're going to create a shrine, you actually need an orthographic view. So if I were typing Japanese shrines orthographic, here's a better view, but it's not truly orthographic. Usually for something like this, you're going to want to type in blueprints. So like this image right here would probably work, this image would work, this one right here would work. Wow, you can see someone just went all out. Okay, so, oh, here's another nice one. So this should give you a good idea on what I'm talking about. Since we're already using red material, I'm just going to go ahead and open up this, and we'll just use this one as, it may not be truly orthographic, but we can still use it as a good baseline. So I'm going to type in Shrine 2. We'll come back into Maya. And we'll use this one for reference, so I'm just going to move it off to the side. Still in the scene, just hidden. We'll go to View, come down to Image Plane. We'll go ahead and import Shrine 2 real fast. Open. Alright, so right here, yeah, these are going to be pillars. I think these are pillars. I can't tell. It's kind of a blocky image. It's actually a very blocky image, but we'll work with it. So let's go ahead and create another thing, a polycylinder. We'll just move it right about here, and we'll scale it up. And all I'm going to do before I finish out this video is I'm going to just put these in place. Put all these in place, and I'm actually going to stop the video after this because this is already at 30 minutes. Actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and select both of these, Control D, and we'll move this over here. There we go. So I'm going to stop the video right here. In the next video, we're going to get into making the stairs, making the ground plane, and making this where this actually elevates up into the shrine. So I'll catch back up with you from there.